Hello and welcome to this Oak Tree English video on grammar expectations for ESOL Level 2. This is the last in a four-part series. If you haven't watched the earlier grammar videos, then please do so, because that describes what is expected before this level. In the first two videos, I showed a chart about the entry-level grammar requirements, which was in the public domain. This time I'm using the same information from a level 2 exam, but I will not show it as it is password protected. Fortunately for you, I will tell you what it says. It's split into the same 6 areas, but more advanced grammar is expected from you. The areas are sentences, noun phrases, verb forms and time markers, adjectives, adverbs, and discourse. We're going to look at each of these to explain what is expected. I'm not going to cover all the expectations of entry 1, 2, and 3 because I've made videos about them, which you should watch as a foundation for this video. The level 1 video used examples from the capital city, London. This time, we're going to do a tour of the UK. The first location is Cambridge, and the first grammar element on the list is word order in complex sentences. This was covered at level 1 too, but at level 1 you should be able to choose your word order to emphasize a certain element. This is done by shifting the part you want to emphasize to the front of the sentence, sometimes called fronting. For example, of the 2 great universities, Cambridge is the nearest to London, where the great universities qualification is the emphasized point. Alternatively, Cambridge is the closest great university to London, where Cambridge is the salient point. You can also utilize the passive voice to emphasize the action over the actor by putting the verb in prime position. Next, we turn to there is, there are. You should be able to use this structure in every tense, but at level 2, you should also be able to use it with modal verbs of possibility. Ooh. For example, there could be, there should be. There could be over 20,000 students at Cambridge University. Speaking of modal verbs, it's important to remember that could, would, and should are usually followed by the auxiliary have, not and never of. For example, Cambridge could have been farmland and would have been if not for the monks at Ely. You should be able to use the 0, first, second, and third conditionals, as well as mixed conditionals. I have a video on that. You can use would, should, and could in a conditional. For example, if Cambridge University hadn't been established in the 13th century, higher education might have, could have, would have looked significantly different today. You should also be aware of comparative clauses, such as the more research Cambridge University does, the better its reputation grows. You'll also be able to use participle clauses. That is when you use a present participle, that's the ing form, or the past participle, usually the ed form, at the start of a sentence. For example, studying at Cambridge, students gain invaluable knowledge and experiences. This makes the first clause, studying at Cambridge, the emphasis of the sentence. Participle clauses are often examples of cleft sentences. That is a sentence where something is emphasized by putting it in a separate clause. For example, it is at Cambridge where the groundbreaking discovery of DNA structure was made. From Cambridge, we travel west to the home of the other and original great university, Oxford. Here we can talk first about conjunctions. You should be able to link sentences with a wide range of conjunctions and conjoining phrases, such as on condition that or provided that, which is related to the conditional emphasis of level 2, such as you can study at Oxford provided that your grades are remarkable. You can visit Christ Church College on condition that you pay for entrance. You will also be expected to report speech using appropriate tenses and, in the writing exam, punctuation. The rule of thumb, when it's indirect reported speech, the verb form goes back a tense. So if Matthew Arnold said, Oxford is a sweet city which has dreaming spires, he did say that, then you would report this by saying, it would be reported as Matthew Arnold said that Oxford was a sweet city which had dreaming spires. Similarly, you should be able to report questions using a range of verb forms. For example, when C.S. Lewis writes of his first arrival to Oxford, he walked the wrong way out of the station and asked himself, can this really be Oxford? Which is reported in his autobiography Surprised by Joy as, I wondered if this could really be Oxford. He might have asked, where are the dreaming spires? To someone who would later relay this, as he asked me where the dreaming spires were. He could have asked another Oxfordian, have you seen the Bodleian Library? Which may have been reported down the Eagle and Child pub later that evening. He asked me if I had seen the Bodleian Library. You should also be ready to use question tags, as you have been since very early English lessons. At level 2, you should use them with more advanced verb forms and tenses, such as, you haven't applied to Christ Church College, have you? That's in the present perfect. Tolkien wrote The Lord of the Rings here, didn't he? That's at Merton College. Don't mention Cambridge, will you? That's an imperative future. While we're thinking about questions, don't forget about that ever so English trait of asking a question within a statement or another question. These are often introduced with phrases like, I wonder, could you tell me, do you know, can you remember, let's ask, we need to find out, I'd like to know, I'm not sure, would you mind explaining? For example, could you tell me what it is about Magdalen College in Oxford that makes it stand out among other colleges in the university? And then you can talk about the Deer Park, Oscar Wilde, and Narnia. From the academic heights of Cambridge and Oxford, we go southwest to the historic city of Bath. Here we will think about noun phrases. At level 2, you'll be expected to utilise increasingly complex noun phrases, that is, using more and lower frequency words to define a subject or object. For example, the historically rich and architecturally stunning city of Bath. The picturesque city nestled amidst rolling hills and verdant landscapes. A haven of thermal spas and natural hot springs offering therapeutic indulgence. These are complex noun phrases provided by ChatGTP. You should have a fairly secure grasp at this stage of using articles, such as Pulteney Bridge, there it is, which is a zero article due to being a proper noun, spans the River Avon, which is a definite article because there is only one River Avon in Bath, and is a prominent feature, indefinite article, a prominent feature, because there are many features, of which Pulteney Bridge is one in Bath's cityscape. Within this, the trickiest article is the zero article, because it's neither written nor spoken, but it's always there. You might think of it as the imaginary article, if that helps. If it doesn't, then don't think of it that. Here's an example. Visitors often marvel at Royal Crescent's exquisite architecture, manicured gardens and stunning views, while also enjoying leisurely picnics on the expansive lawns of Royal Circus during their exploration of Bath's historical landmarks. In this sentence, the zero, it's all true by the way, in this sentence the zero articles are used before countable nouns like architecture and gardens, uncountable nouns such as stunning views, and in phrases like expansive lawns to convey general or unspecified references. That's a picture there of Royal Circus going down to Royal Crescent, beautiful part of the world. So heading north from Bath, we find ourselves in Stratford upon Avon, which is of course the birthplace of England's most famous writer, William Shakespeare. Here we will think about verb forms. You'll be tested on tenses, that is, time. Now I have a whole video on all 16 English tenses, and I have another putting them in the passive voice, which will help you to put all of this in perspective. At level 2, you should be able to use all the tenses, simple, continuous and perfect, in all the times, past, present and future. For example, when Shakespeare was born there, Stratford was a small market town, past, passive and active. Today it's known as a tourist destination. It is known present passive, and will continue, the future will, to captivate visitors for many years to come. Once again, thank you to ChatGTP for doing that for me. The active, there's Shakespeare's birthplace. The active and passive voices are used to change the subject and object around, thus changing the emphasis of the sentence. For example, the Royal Shakespeare Theatre, there it is seen from the water, was opened in 1932 and has been acclaimed. The Royal Shakespeare Theatre was opened in 1932 and has been acclaimed contributions to the world of theatre. Has been acclaimed worldwide for its contributions to the world of theatre. Notice we don't know who opened it. We don't really care. Nor who acclaimed it. Because, as Shakespeare said, the play's the thing. You should be able to talk about past habits by using would and used to. For example, William Shakespeare would hunt deer at Charlecote Park, and then he used to sell it to the ladies of Shottery. Now, this is not historically certain, but it is a theory of how he met his wife Anne Hathaway at her cottage. There it is displayed on the screen for you, in Shottery, and why he had to make an abrupt exit to London, pursued by a magistrate, not a bear, who owned the deer park at Charlecote. But I digress. You doubtless know how to use conditionals. Well, at level 2, you should also be ready to use third conditionals. These are a formulation that talk about impossible, hypothetical past situations. They're made using had plus would, could, or should have. For example, if News Place, there it is, had not been demolished in the 18th century, it would have been the most visited attraction in in town. I don't know if that's true. It could have been the most visited attraction in town. We'll never know. A small step north from historic Stratford, we come to industrial Birmingham, England's second city. It's here that we shall think about modal and phrasal verbs. Modal verbs are auxiliary verbs which modify the meaning of the main verb in terms of possibility, probability, or permission. The 9 most common modals are can, could, may, might, must, shall, will, should, would. To use these in the past, you follow them with have, never, with, of, and follow a perfect formulation. This includes obligations such as I should have gone to the Birmingham Museum and Art Gallery last time I was in town, but it was closed. Which is sad because it's a brilliant museum if anyone fancies going there. You can express possibility using could have, might have, or may have. For example, that was BMAG, there it is, but possibility. The Lunar Society in 18th century Birmingham, including these golden boys, may have, might have, could have sparked key scientific and industrial breakthroughs through their visionary discussions. You can also use it to express rejected conditions, such as, although they had it in stock, I couldn't borrow Shakespeare's first folio from Birmingham Library. You should also have a wide range of phrasal verbs at your disposal. Would you like to see an example of that? Oh, of course you would. Here it comes. While looking around Birmingham's canals, there they are, we stumbled upon a hidden cafe, decided to sit down, and ended up chatting with locals, soaking in the charm of the surroundings. Looking around, stumbled upon, sit down, end up, soak in. These are all phrasal verbs, and you should have a wide range of them at your disposal. So let's continue northwards. We've done Birmingham now. So where are we going? That's right. We're going north to Liverpool. This is of course the home of the Beatles, and some other stuff happened there too. Here we're going to think about adjectives. As well as everything I've mentioned in earlier videos, you should be able to recognize and use adjectives of differing emotive strength. So, for example, the Liver building is nice and Albert Docks are impressive, but the cathedrals are breathtaking in different ways. You should also be able to accurately and appropriately collocate adjectives with their respective prepositions. For example, Yoko Ono was kind to John Lennon, who was very keen on her, but some of the others were jealous of her and angry with them. So see what we have here? Kind to, keen on, jealous of, and angry with. These are collocations of prepositions with verbs. From Liverpool, we continue north to York, once the capital of Viking Britain. Here we're going to take some time to think about prepositions. At level 2, you should know about which prepositions are followed by ing and which by noun phrases. An example of prepositions that are followed by ing forms include while, by, despite, about, instead of. For example, despite being quite cold, we had a wonderful time while exploring the shambles, instead of visiting York Minster, which I seem to be wearing as a hat right now, but let's not focus on that. There are a good number of set phrases which are followed by noun phrases. you're familiar with by mistake or on purpose, and you may have come across the idioms going for a song or gone for good. These are examples of noun phrases following prepositions. Let's make a sentence relating this to York. In terms of historical significance, York's city walls, there they are among the best in the UK. On the other hand, it's hard to compete with the immersive experience through time offered by the Jorvik Viking Centre. So we've got loads of these prepositions and noun phrases here. In terms of historical significance, the city walls are among the best. On the other hand, with the immersive experience through time by the Jorvik Viking Centre. See, these are all prepositions followed by noun phrases. Finally, we reach the end of our British tour at the capital of Scotland, the beautiful, mysterious and historic city of Edinburgh. This is going to be where we use discourse markers. Now, you should be able to utilise a wide range of discourse markers in context. This may look like this. Although initially unnoticed, upon deeper exploration, the juxtaposition of the Gothic intricacy of the Scots monument, there it is, with the neoclassical grandeur of the National Monument on Carlton Hill, presents a compelling contrast, hinting at the city's diverse architectural history, thereby inviting visitors to contemplate Edinburgh's rich historical tapestry. Let's focus on the logical markers here, and not on the very wordy sentence which was created once again by ChatGTP. So we've got start off with although, which introduces a contrast or concession, upon, which indicates a time or event, with, establishing a relationship between elements, thereby indicating a result or consequence, inviting, suggesting an action or extending an invitation, contemplate, suggesting a mental action or process. So you see, these are all logical markers which tell the audience where you are in your discourse. You should also be able to show your progression of thought by using sequence markers. You know these as firstly, secondly, and next. But there are others, including subsequently, meanwhile, at this point, eventually, and of course, last but not least. Let's look at an example. Starting from the historic cobbled streets of the Royal Mile, visitors weave through the ancient charm of Old Town, ascend to the majestic Edinburgh Castle, perched atop Castle Rock, and culminate their journey by hiking Arthur's Seat. Okay, so for sequence markers, we show that we're starting with starting from. And then we've got a progression like weave through, ascend to, showing progression upwards, and of course culminate being the height or the end of a journey. By the way, that is Arthur's Seat in front of you, and a view of Edinburgh Castle from Arthur's Seat, which is a fantastic day out if you happen to be in Scotland. I hope this video and tour has been helpful. If you found that there are areas of grammar which you don't understand or need to practice, then that is exactly what you should do. Ask your teacher for exercises on the areas you find most difficult, and then practice them until they're second nature. Within a few weeks of doing this daily, your English will have improved massively. I wish you the very best of luck in your English language adventure. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If so, please remember to like, share and subscribe to Oak Tree English.